folks, welcome to Once Driven Forever Smitten. This time out we're going to be giving the Omega some attention. Going to be getting a timing belt and water pump done. It's a 2.5 V6, so it's a pretty big job. We're also going to be sorting out a bit of body work on it as well, getting rid of that rusty scrape that's been on the back arch for a good while. So let's get to it. We've got a little squeak developing under there, so yeah, definitely time for the belts to get done. It's done 31,000 miles in the current belt, so it's getting close to when it's due. All the tools are loaded in, so let's get on. This is slightly overdue for the Omega to be getting some attention, but needs must because I need to use it to go and pick some stuff up. It has the capacity of a small van. But yeah, I bought this car at the end of 2018 and I paid £1,100 for it, and it had only done a genuine 6,000 miles. The old chap that owned it only ever used it to tow his caravan, and the rest of the time it sat parked in his garage. So it turned up on Facebook Marketplace and I was out there that night like a shot, put a deposit down on it and collected it the following day. And it's now got 37,500 miles on it. So it's done 31,000s on the timing belt kit that I put on it as soon as I got it. It's not had an awful lot else apart from that. It's not had an awful lot of stuff maintenance wise apart from the timing belt. I did the front discs and pads on it. We had to delete the back box off it because during COVID I simply couldn't get one side of the twin exhaust system for it. It's had a couple of sets of spark plugs. And I had a coil pack when I first got it, and there was some grit in the EGR valve, and that's pretty much been it. Oh, it's had a couple of sets of wheels on it. I got rid of the original 16-inch wheels, which were pretty badly tarnished, and I put the 17-inch Earnshaw wheels on it, which turned out to be unfortunately buckled. I need to get them straightened, and it's now sitting on a set of Signum wheels, which are 17-inch, which look alright on it. Just popped into Dingbro to pick up some more bits and pieces. Oh, I forgot to mention, it did have a track rod end on one side a couple of years ago, and I've got another track rod end to do for it now because it was advised at the MOT there was a bit of play there. It's not knocking or anything yet, but we'll get that done at the same time. Now this car is a 2001 2.5 V6, so one of the later 2.5s before they moved to the updated fly-by-wire 2.6. Manual gearbox. The GLS is the entry-level spec at this point. There was one called the Select on the pre-facelift. I don't know if they did that onto the facelift, but you could even get that with the 2.8 litre valve, which must have been pretty relaxed performance wise. Yeah, but this is 2.5, 170 horsepower, 5-speed manual. It's pretty short geared for a car of this size, which I think must be to do with towing. And of course it's got the big heavy V6 flywheel on it, so at low revs it can be pretty sluggish pulling away. Spec wise in a GLS you get climate control, a leather steering wheel, electric front windows, electric mirrors, and that's about it. I added these leather seats from an MV6, and although I have the heated seat switches there, they do not work because the wiring harness is not there, which I found just amazing, considering a lot of Cavaliers, such even a 1990 GL's pre-wired for heated seats. I also added cruise control. The car is pre-wired for that. You just need to plug the unit in, add the cable, and add either a clutch switch or splice that wire into a 12 volt connection, which is what I did because clutch switches don't work properly on cable throttle cruise control. It's been a fantastic car over the years, and it's never once given me any bother, which you would hope, considering the mileage. It was pretty much a new car when I got it. I would like to do some tidying up of the interior. This central panel here was covered in black coating because it's a GLS, but if you scrape it off, it's actually walnut underneath. So they spent more money to make something look cheaper. Also, this surround here's all tarnished as well, and the buttons, some of the coatings come off them as well. There's an Omega in the scrapyard in Dunfermline, which I'm going to get the wooden surround out of it for this, along with the buttons and everything, and maybe I can get the heated seat wiring out of it as well. Now, the Omega, unlike a lot of Vauxhall products from the 90s, was actually really highly rated by the press, and of course the police loved them as well. You literally cannot buy this style of car anymore, a mainstream large executive car, thanks to everybody wanting a Mercedes or a BMW or something like that. But even today, I mean, the ride quality, the comfort and refinement, even the handling, it sits pretty well through corners, this, considering the size of it. And it is in its original suspension as well. I dare say if I was to go and invest a bit in some new Bilstein shockers and some springs for it, it would tighten it up even more. I have had a couple of thoughts about selling it from time to time, but I think I'm going to hold on to it because where would I get another? It would be nice if I had some more spec in it. I don't know if maybe I could get a trip computer fitted into it. If I could get that fitted and get the heated seats working, I'd be really happy with it. I tell you, that V6 engine is silky smooth. When it's idling, you can hear it just ticking away gently, like a metronome. I would maybe quite like to go and put a lightened flywheel in it to see what that does. And I have thought about trying to get a limited slip diff for it, which may also lengthen the gear ratios. Although it is short geared for the motorway, for the size of the car, I mean the Cavaliers are much longer geared. It does actually pay off the short gearing when you're towing, because it's sitting at 2,500 RPM at 60 miles an hour, so it's just perfect if you've got a trailer with a car in the back, which of course we've done on a couple of long trips. We went all the way to France with the Omega to get the black Cavalier Le Cave, and I also went down to Warwick to go and rescue my blue Cavalier Fab when it was smashed on the M40. Right, got the Omega in the garage and up on the ramps. We've got a fair amount of stripping out to do, so I'm going to remove the plastic panelling, induction pipes. I'll be needing to access the spark plugs, so I need to do a bit of stripping out of this top plenum as well, so I shall get to that now. Just removing the intake pipes from this big fancy induction setup. Come on, there we go. Interesting. Double throttle body setup on these as opposed to single on the other ones. Right. Next, for access, the loom has 3 screws in it there, so I've removed that, and I'm disconnecting the positive battery terminal as well. I'll lose that screw out of there. Is it going to stay in? Probably not. So I am going to remove the battery terminal, which has got a 13 and a 10 on it, and the main multi-plug here, and I'll be able to swing this out the way. Next thing I'm removing to give me some more space is this EGR pipe assembly, which is you take another clip off it down the bottom there. Yeah, what a pest.
After 1 o'clock, by the time I got to it was fucking the afternoon, so...
That's that EGR pipe work out. Had to put it up in the air, and I have removed the lower cover off it, which a lot of cars will probably be missing now. But this wiring harness can just stay there, it's not going to be in the road. So now what I want to do is, what you need to do is slacken the bolts on the water pump, and I might need to take the pulley off for the power steering to get this timing belt cover off as well. I can't remember, to be honest with you. It might be that I have to take the tensioner bolt off as well, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to go and slacken all 6 of these now anyway, just in case I need to take that off, because once you take the belt off, these will just spin, so there's no tension on them to slacken them. Right, I've removed the water pump, pulley, 3 10mm bolts, and I've also removed the alternator drive belt tensioner. There's this here, which you swing on to remove the belt, because the timing belt cover won't sneak out past that. This is a set of E10 Torx. So there's 4 of these, and then we'll be into the timing belt, and then we'll take the bottom pulley bolt off. I'll stick it out there. Then I'll flip the bottom pulley bolt off it, and we'll go and line it all up with the timing marks. That is the alternator belt stroke drive belt tensioner removed, so I can access a little hidden bolt that's down the back of the cam cover, and then remove it. The nice way, I mean, these do get, people do break these, and then posting it out.
Yeah. Right,
that's one of those bolts for top of the cover. Now, ta-da! That will now lift out beautifully and easily, with no broken bits. Alright, so I've timed the engine up on the bottom pulley at the mark, and as you can see, we are indeed all timed up correctly, well as close as could be. What you need to realise, when you put the locking bits in for these, they don't line up properly at the back. So you just kind of need to go with it and kind of know that you've timed it up the rest of the way correctly. So I'm going to go and put it back up in there now and just drop the oil out. Definitely due an oil change. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give this some sand down in paint. And you can see little bits like this, these subframe bits getting rusty. I'm going to go along them with a wire brush and give them a clean up as well. I appear to have a slight oil leak at the back as well, but I think that's coming from high up. I suspect that'll be the rocker gaskets. Man, I mean generally, this car is still rock solid though, as you would expect. But there you go, we're on the bottom mark there. So once I've got the oil out it, I'm going to go and split the water pump out it and collect all the old coolant. Right, last bolt coming out the water pump. Because the water pump on these doesn't actually run with the timing belt. You set up there and you're going to just pop out. We're going to have to give you a wee dunk. And we'll have to give it a wee persuade. Hopefully the buckets. Would you believe the water pump hit the bucket? But that's alright, because we did catch most of it. Right, now going to go in and take the tension off the belt. 2 tensioners. I'm just going to take these right out because we are replacing them. Well, that one doesn't come right out because it comes as part of the kit. This one does. And it's got a little shim at the back of it as well, which also comes as part of the kit. So there we go, that's that tensioner out. And the belt will now ease off. I can go and check it against the new one. Dink, and that's one of the camshafts shifted, which is why you need to lock them with the tools, because it sits in the cam lobes. That's our belt out anyway. So there is our old belt. You see there is no cracking or anything in it, but you know, that is needing changed now. And this is our nice new belt, which is an SKF, which I will just check them side by side to make the shim them into teeth. Removing the old tensioner set. Right, this is our new roller and tensioner set here, and you get new bolts in it as well. We've got the E10 I think it is, and then the E12 bolts, 4 new bolts with it as well. So this old kit's now done. I'm going to go and install this now. We have these locking pins. Red goes in that way, green goes in that way, and that will stop our cam pulleys from moving. As you can see, I've installed the tensioner and the roller there, and I've installed the tensioner down there. I'm now going to fire the water pump into it as well. This is our new water pump, complete with seal. Beautiful. Right, if you can see in there, there's a line in the timing belt, and I've just stuck this wedge thing in here to hold it in place. So the belt is now lined up with the bottom mark, because as we feed this round, there's some marks on the camshafts that we want to line up with as well. So I'm going to drop the car back down now. Right, the belt is on. Fitted it round, and then I tensioned it there. Well, I tensioned it there, tensioned it there, tensioned it down there. Now you get this thing, which you screw into that bit in there, and you're supposed to line it up with these lines on the belt, which I never bother doing. I mean, there's also this bit of kit here, which screws into the bottom pulley and hooks into the water pump to prevent the bottom pulley from moving. But in my experience, the bottom pulley doesn't move, and you don't need to go and line it up with these lines in the belt anyway. We're all nicely tensioned up here, there's no slack in the belt anywhere. So all I'm going to do is remove the little wedge from down the bottom here, and then I'm going to give the engine a couple of turns over and make sure that it returns to the timing marks on the top. Job done. And that's the only way I've ever done these, and I've done about 10 now and never had a problem. So if you don't like it, tough. Yeah, that's all tensioned up spot on there. Really nice. Let's go and turn it over. If we look under here now, I am on that bottom mark, and I've even got like one of the belt lines there. We are tensioned beautifully everywhere. So let's go and turn this over by hand. Well, looks like it's moving nicely to me. Not seeing any slack bits appearing in the belt as it goes round. Right, that's us back at the bottom mark. Let's see where we are. There we go, back round at the top, and we are dead on our timing marks. Everything looks good, everything's nice and tight. Look as well, made in the UK on that belt, who'd have thought it? Right, I am now officially happy with that. So I'm going to proceed and start putting the rest of it back together. I've now reinstalled the bottom pulley, so I can now go and put the drive belt on it. Okay, before I button things up fully, I'm going to do the spark plugs. Now this back one's a bit of a dick to get at on this side, so I've unfastened the loom from the top of the plenums there. I have removed the servo pipe, and with 2 extensions and a universal joint I can just get in there to get this spark plug out. And then the other 2 aren't too bad. Can't remember what this side's like. I don't think this one's as bad. I think get access is easier. I've managed to pluck the spark plug out using the lead at the front, and it's got oil on it, which means we've got a rocker cover gasket leak. Well, I'm not doing that right now because I don't have the rocker cover gaskets. It means it's going to smoke a little bit when it starts, but it will clear because this oil just ends up sitting around the spark plugs. Not the end of the world. I think I put these in maybe a year, might be 2 years ago, I can't remember. But I've got some new AC Delcros there anyway, so get them in now. Well, removing one of the plug leads, it came apart in my hand. So now I've got to replace it, which means I've got to remove this top plenum, which is a lot more stripping out. So I've got to remove the EGR bolts out the side of it, and I've already removed the throttle bracket and the cruise bracket. Which is a load more extra work. Right, if that's it moving, what else is connected to the bastard thing? Many pipes. Or at some point we might see our coil pack. Well, there we go, I've managed to get the dodgy plug lead out. I'm going to have to do the rest of them before I go and put that plenum back in, because just in case any of them do that, because that'll be a nightmare. Right, there we go, got the second plug out, one with the bad lead. This is a replacement lead, which is exactly the right size, so that's good. Again, it's oily, so we're going to get a bit of smoke when this starts. Right, the good news is that the other 3 plug leads did come off. That is a little bit easier to get into here with the plenum disconnected and the EGR pipe, a bit of movement on that, so we can get into this and remove these other 3 plugs. Interestingly, it doesn't seem to be any oil leakage on this side, it's only that side that's dripping through. There's the 3 spark plugs out the other side, no oil on them, no leakage there. NGKs, I must have put that in a minute. Like I say, it might be 2 years ago now. We're putting AC Delcos back in it, which is General Motors parts company, so they're effectively genuine GM plugs, these, which I bought a job lot of because, you know, a lot of cars need a lot of spark plugs. Get the O-rings back in place on there, and I've pulled the bits of kitchen roll out that were protecting things, and we can now drop this back down onto its dowels again, so it will sit nicely. Move all the bits of pipe and bracketry out the way that's trying to get trapped underneath. Right, coolant's topped up for the moment. Just fired 5 litres of semi-synthetic in it. So now we will see what happens when I start it up. Well, that's running nicely. forgot the oil out the spark plugs. Yeah, look how horrible this is. That's going to need ground back with a brush and Gravitex all in here, but basically that is purely down to not having any rust proofing on it there. That's just been bare metal. So, I mean, obviously that's just surface rust there, nothing to worry about because it's proper thick metal, but we'll have to get into that. But anyway, the reason that we're here is the track rod end. I mean, you probably can't see that, but there's definitely play in that nut there, so I'm going to split that, and replace it with the one that I've got. Track rod ends are both the same, so as far as I could tell, are they? Maybe they're not. I'm just trying to compare there to there to there. I think they are, it's just a slightly different design. So what we'll have to do is be mindful of that with the amount of threads that it's going to go in. Right, well, there's the new track rod end installed. I've kind of lined it up the same as how it was before, and I didn't really move anything here, but you know, they never goes in exact. Hopefully it shouldn't be too far away. I'll have to get it booked in to get it tracked before it goes away down the road next week anyway, but that's a play out that wheel there anyway, so which is good. So onto the wheel arch, which is all surface rust along there. I've taken the rust off it using this stripping disc, which has got us back to shiny metal there, which is good. So what I'm going to do now is skim this with some filler to smooth it all out a bit, because we've got a bit of pitting there. So just a thin skim of filler on that to even it off, and then we'll sand it down, get some primer on it, and we'll get some paint in round there. We'll try not to go above the sort of line of the arch there. I'll try and keep it restricted to that area there. I've got some good old Isopon P38 to skim onto this lightly. Right, so that's it down, sanded down, mostly smooth. I've now got a bit of 1200 grit, and I'm going to wet sand it. Right, so heated it up again with a heat gun, get a bit of warmth into the panel, mashed it all off. Now I'm just going to hit it with a spot of grey primer. Right, back on now with some double acrylic high coat Vauxhall Star Silver. Right, that's just a super quick bit of paint on there just now to protect it, because I'm going to go and do this properly when I've got more time, because it's getting late. I just didn't want to leave it with no protection on it for tonight, so I'll sand that down again and add some proper layers of paint. Taking the Omega out for a quick run to see how it is the day after doing the timing belt and everything. steering wheel's slightly down at one side because I've put the track rod end on it. I need to get the tracking done, which I knew I'd have to do anyway, but steering actually feels better even though the tracking's not quite right. It's taken a little bit of slack, a little bit of inertia out of it. The good things about the Omega, for being a big executive car, is the suspension's pretty taut on it and it does go well through corners. It's by no means a big soft boat. And the 2.5 isn't bad once you get it moving. But you can see why the police liked them so much anyway. That's all for this one. Next time out we'll be doing the wheel alignment, getting the aircon re-gassed, finishing off the arch repair on it and doing some rust proofing on the Omega. It's running really well now. It's at a service and the timing belt on it, and I've got a lot of miles to rack up in it with a couple of long trips to England, one of which includes picking up some interesting Vauxhall parts. So I shall see you again next time. Bye bye. Wow, look at how dark it is. It's supposed to be getting milder.